What is good, everyone? Time with my Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 6, The Iron Throne series finale thoughts. Yes, this was a series finale, and it makes me very, very sad and upset. But all great things must come to an end eventually, and of course, that was the case here with Game of Thrones. And overall, I gotta say, coming out of the series finale for Game of Thrones, I will say that I was pleased with how it ended. Now, honestly, I read the leaks 2 weeks ago. It was like a couple days after the 4th episode aired. I read the leaks, and I was like, if this actually happens, I'm going to fucking hate the way this comes out. I absolutely hated it. But I will say, the way that it was played out, the way they did everything, the way they did, I was pleased with it. I thought it was a happy ending. It gave a lot of the characters closure, and I thought it was a happy ending, mainly for the Starks, because this whole series mainly has been about the Starks, and you know what that family has been through throughout the entire series has just been hell. And to finally see them, you know, be happy, finally see them get a happy ending, was honestly all I really wanted from the show, to see the Starks be happy, and that's exactly what we got. And I feel like all the other characters got good closures as well. You know, I'm not saying everyone had an amazing closure, but I feel like a lot of loose ends were tied up, a lot of questions were kind of answered. Yeah, there's still some questions, you know, that weren't answered, but you know what? It is what it is. You can't possibly please everyone. But in terms of how they played it out, I was satisfied. Was it the finale that I was hoping for? Absolutely not. I was expecting a different ending. I mean, hell, my ideal perfect ending was that, you know, Jon and Daenerys rule together. You know, I obviously wanted those two to rule, but I just knew it's Game of Thrones. There's no way that was even possible to happen. But yeah, for what it was, I was pleased with it. I don't have any complaints. I loved the finale. I really did enjoy it, and I thought it was a good way to go out. So of course, going to the episode, it immediately opens up with the destruction of King's Landing. You have, you know, Tyrion and Jon and Davos going through, you know, just seeing the complete and utter destruction that Daenerys caused to take the city. We have Jon and Davos find Grey Worm and then Sully executing Lannister soldiers. Jon's like, what are you doing? You know, they surrendered, it's over. And, you know, Grey Worm's like, no, Daenerys wants all her enemies dead, and that's what we're doing. Anyone that's even worked for her enemies are gonna die too. And instead of fighting it, you know, Davos pretty much told Jon, like, you know, hey, let's just go talk to Daenerys. It's not worth getting into a fight with them. And Jon let them do their own thing as Grey Worm executed Lannister soldiers. And then, of course, we have Tyrion, you know, going through the Red Keep, and then going, of course, down to where the Targaryens were, the Dragon Skulls were. And then that's where he finds Jaime's golden hand, you know, sticking out through a pile of rocks. And Tyrion's first instinct is no, 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 no. And, of course, as he starts throwing the rocks out, he discovers both Jaime and Cersei's lifeless bodies sitting there, you know, just covered in all the rocks that collapsed on them. And Tyrion just breaks down, and you couldn't help but just feel for him, you know, even though, you know, more so with Cersei, that he had a lot of animosity and they've always had differences. At the end of the day, that was always his family. It didn't matter what the differences were. They were always family, and of course he always loved her, you know. And Jaime was the only person that's ever been kind to him throughout his entire childhood growing up. You know, Jaime's the only person that, you know, accepted him for who he was, and everyone else, you know, like his father and Cersei, you know, always, you know, mocked him and hated him for him being a dwarf. But Jaime's the only person that really accepted him. So to see, you know, the people that he loved the most in this world dead right in front of him, you know, knowing that they could have been saved or just could have been prevented, he absolutely just broke down. And it was very, very sad to see the way Tyrion broke down, because you can tell it was breaking down where, you know, he couldn't really react because he was so distraught. He just, you know, he burst into tears, but he still just, you know, he wasn't like flat out, like, you know, in tears on the ground, you know, head down. He just was in such shock, and he just didn't know how to react. And I thought it was phenomenal acting on Peter Dinklage's part in that scene. So Tyrion finding them was just very heartbreaking, and it was distraughting for sure. Then of course we have, you know, Jon walking up the steps, and of course Daenerys arrives. Beautiful shot with her walking down with Drogon flying off behind her. That was a beautiful shot. And of course Daenerys gets up, gives her whole victory speech saying that she, you know, the war isn't over, and that she plans to liberate every city to free everyone, whether it's from Winterfell to Dorne or Lannisport to I forgot where else, but basically every city she wants to liberate and make sure everyone is a free person. She doesn't want any rulers whatsoever. And you know, Jon's sitting there going, what the fuck's going on? And Tyrion walks up and surrenders. He says, you know what, fuck this, throws the hand of the king pin down, or the queen of the, hand of the queen pin down. And Daenerys like, you freed your brother? And he goes, yeah, I did. And you know, you killed millions or thousands of innocent people today. Like, what I did was nothing compared to what you did, basically is what he's saying. And, you know, because he committed treason, you know, Daenerys says, take him. You know, he's going to be executed. He's taken by the Unsullied. Jon's kind of like sitting there like, what the fuck's going on? Arya appears because she's, you know, the Flash apparently. So she's automatically appears on the steps with Jon. And she's pretty much saying, like, you know, as long as she's around, you know, we're not going to be safe. And Jon is kind of like realizing the situation is in. He goes to see Tyrion, of course, he was locked into like a dungeon. Well, not a dungeon. It's kind of like a room. Like it felt like, it kind of seemed like they found a spare room, just kind of threw him in there because obviously he had plenty of room to do whatever he wanted. But of course, Jon goes in there and they have a great scene. You know, Tyrion's pretty much giving the Jon pretty much saying that look how everything's gone. You think you're safe. I try to help Daenerys. I really truly believed in her, and I loved her like you love her. I mean, obviously she didn't love me back the way she loves you, but I truly put everything I had into her, and look at what she's doing. I know now that what I thought was wrong, and she's not the person I thought she was. And if you think your family's safe, if you think you're safe, you're wrong. As long as you're alive, you're a threat to the throne. And as long as your sister's alive, you think that Daenerys is not going to go after your sister at one point? He's pretty much just saying, open your fucking eyes. You need to realize who she is. I know you love her, but you need to realize that, she's not who you think she is. And of course, Jon gave the infamous line that Maester Aemon gave him back in season 1, where love is the duty of love, or love is the duty of death. Sorry, I got that completely mixed up. And Jon gave that line to him, and Tyrion said, you know what? Sometimes duty, is the death of love. And I thought that was a great scene with both of them right there. And kind of opened Jon's eyes. And Tyrion even said, like, listen, you need to make a decision. You need to make a decision now, because if you don't, then everything that it's her executing Tyrion and her going after Jon in the north, it's all gonna happen eventually. So you need to make a decision absolutely now. And that's when we see Dany going into the throne room. She sees the Iron Throne. She puts her hand on it, and Jon enters the room as well. And of course Daenerys is all happy that she won the war, and she's pretty much telling Jon her plan. And Jon's pretty much saying that, you know what, we don't need to fight anymore. Like, you have the throne now. Like, what's there more to fight? And Daenerys pretty much saying that she needs to liberate the city, she needs to do blah blah blah. And Jon was kind of like uncertain about it, and Daenerys like, you know what, you need to follow me. We can do this together. We can liberate everything together. We can rule together. We can be together forever. And from you being a bastard, and from me being a little girl I couldn't count to 20, look at us now. And Jon says, you're my queen, and you'll always be my queen. And they embrace and kiss, and as they do that, all you hear is a and then they kind of separate, and you see that Jon put a dagger in her heart. What poetic justice, because Jon was killed with a dagger to the heart. And then you move forward and look at Daenerys. Jon kills Daenerys with a dagger to the heart. And Daenerys is kind of in shock, and Jon's sitting there, he holds her as she collapses, and Daenerys just, bleeds out, and she just dies instantly like that. And I know a lot of people were saying that was anticlimactic death for Daenerys, but I thought it fit well. It kind of took her off guard. She thought she was on top of the world. She had the Iron Throne right there. She was queen. She was all happy. She thought she had, the entire world in their hands. And then out of nowhere and unexpectedly, Jon just took it from her. So for that aspect, I didn't mind it. I wasn't expecting like Arya to jump behind the throne and stab her. I think a lot of people want to do it a different way. For me, I would have done it differently too. I thought Jon would have acted impulsively. Like, I thought maybe she was going to execute Tyrion, or have, maybe Drogon try to kill Arya, try to burn her, and that's when Jon said, no, this is not happening, and then, kill her. But the way it played out, I'll take it. I thought it was a good way to do it, to kill Daenerys. And of course, Drogon comes in afterwards. He kind of nudges Daenerys. It was just absolutely heartbreaking to see Drogon nudge her like, hey, wake up. And once he realized the situation, Drogon just loses it. He starts breathing fire, and Drogon looks at Jon, and he's building up the fire, and you think, oh shit, Drogon's gonna go on Jon. But then it's like, you know what? Jon's a Targaryen. He's gonna blow fire at Jon, but Jon's gonna keep standing there when the flames are all out. But no, that doesn't happen. Drogon turns around and burns the Iron Throne, completely melts the Iron Throne down, and the Iron Throne is no more. And I thought that was a great little touch, because Drogon realized what happened. Drogon realized the downfall of his mother was the Iron Throne. So he wasn't mad at Jon. He was mad at the Iron Throne, because Daenerys became the person she did because of the Iron Throne, and he realized that, and that's where he put the blame on. He didn't put the blame on Jon, he put the blame on the Iron Throne. I thought that was great work from Drogon, and Drogon melts the Iron Throne out of anger, and then he takes Daenerys' body and just flies off, and we don't see Drogon ever again. Where he took Daenerys' body is beyond me. People said, he's probably going to go back to Valyria and whatnot, but it's like, what are you going to do? Just, kind of throw her body down? And I just don't know what the purpose was with Drogon flying off with the body and leaving Jon there by himself, but that's what happened, and it was kind of confusing, but I was fine with it, I think it's better than, burning or burying her body. I think Drogon taking off because he was so heartbroken, and Drogon disappearing was probably the right thing to do, so I didn't mind Drogon taking off at all. And then we go to a small council meeting. Well, it's not a small council meeting, it's the meeting of the Lord of Westeros. So we have Edmure Tully, who just came back out of nowhere. The last time we saw him was he was a prisoner again from the phrase, but all of a sudden I guess he's Lord of Riverrun again. I don't know. He just kind of appeared. Robin from the Eyrie, he's all grown up. He definitely had to glow up as well. Of course, you know, you had, you know, Sam, you had, you know, Bran, Arya, and Sansa. You had Gendry, pretty much had the biggest, you know, house names at that point. The new Prince of Dorne was there. Davos was there. Bran, like, you know, pretty much the highest families were pretty much there. And, you know, you had Grey Worm come out with Tyrion, because they're trying to figure out what to do now, considering they have no king or queen. And it's been weeks. It's been weeks, and apparently Tyrion and Jon have both been imprisonment. They asked where Jon's at, and they go, you know, Jon's still our prisoner. You know, our king and queen will figure out what to do with him, since the crime was committed in King's Landing. Oh, no, they tell it the Grey Worm. They say that he has no right to decide what happens to Jon. The king or queen decides what to do with Jon, considering that the crime happened in King's Landing. And Grey Worm wasn't happy about that, but he accepted it. He's like, well, who the fuck's the king then? Or who's the queen then, you know? Who's going to decide? And Sam, being the guy that he is, you know, goes, well, why don't we just pick one? Well, we have, you know, the people pick. And they all laugh about it. You know, they all laugh at democracy. Then Tyrion goes, no, he has a point. Why have people be born into the role when we can just choose the rightful ruler? There's no need to have people born into it. We should be choosing who sits rightfully on that throne, and everyone agrees. And then, you know, of course, you know, Tyrion picks Bran, because Bran is Bran the Broken, because apparently he has an amazing story, which, you know, even though he didn't really do much throughout the series besides get a lot of people killed, but you know, what's there to say? So they all like Bran, and Bran is now king of the 7 kingdoms, not 7 kingdoms, the 6 kingdoms. Because Sansa goes, no, even though you're electing king, we want independence, and Bran grants the North independence. So it's now the 6 kingdoms, because the North is their own independent kingdom now. And yeah, I thought it was a good scene, especially considering the fact that, you know, Bran immediately names Tyrion his hand, and Tyrion's like, nah, I don't want it. And Bran goes, no, you've made a lot of mistakes, and you're gonna spend the rest of your life rectifying those mistakes as my hand. So he pretty much punished Tyrion by making him the hand, because Tyrion doesn't want to be the hand. So I thought that was a great little thing right there. And then of course, you know, Bran, they're asked, well, what are we gonna do with Jon Snow? And Bran goes, well, we gotta punish him. You gotta make the people that support Daenerys, like the Unsullied one, not happy. So what does he do? He sends Jon Snow back to the Night's Watch. And my first initial instinct was, motherfucker, you're sending this guy. This guy was there for 5 seasons, then you killed him just to bring him back, so that way he's freed of his vows, and then you put him right back to where he was from the very beginning. I was just like, come on. Which, by the way, I was kind of curious, like, how the whole situation went with them arresting Jon, because, like I said, it went from Jon killing Daenerys immediately to, you know, them saying, oh, we imprisoned him. Like, how did they know Daenerys got killed? Was Jon like, hey, I killed Daenerys and Drogon took off? Or did they kind of put the pieces together when they saw the you know, the little blood pile as well as the throne being melted? Like, I was kind of curious why they didn't explain that, but it was what it was. And yeah, so Bran is the king of the 6 kingdoms. And then, of course, afterwards you have the meeting of the new small council, which consists of Bronn, who is now the Master of Coin, and the Lord of Highgarden. Finally got his fucking castle. Bran is the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard. You have Davos as the Master of Ships, and of course you have Sam, who is the new Grand Maester. And of course there's positions that get to be filled. You know, Bran acknowledged that, and they're like, well, what are you gonna do about the dragon that's gone? And, you know, Bran goes, well, I'll try to find him. And then Pod wheels him off, because Pod is now a knight, which is awesome to see. It's really cool to see how far Pod has come. And they have a great little compilation of, you know, showing the different characters as they're at now. Brienne is filling out the Knight's book, where, of course, in the Kingsguard book, I should say, and she fills out Jaime's page where Shanzo was saying that he died defending his queen, which is just hit me right in the heart when I saw that. That was just absolutely beautiful, the way that was put. And then, of course, you know, you have a glimpse of Jon being freed, and, you know, Jon boarding his ship to take off, pretty much, you know, saying goodbye to Arya, Sansa, and Bran, saying that, you know, Bran's pretty much saying, you know what, I don't want to do this, but, you know, you need to be punished in some way, and, you know, the Night's Watch is the best way to do it. You know, you're not going to father any children, you're not going to marry anyone, you're going to serve your life at the Night's Watch. And Jon's like, I didn't even know there was still a Night's Watch. And Bran goes, well, yeah, there is. And, you know, you see Grey Worm, you know, building his ship with the Unsullied. They're taking off the North, which is just heartbreaking, because they're only going there because, you know, Grey Worm wanted to take Missandei back to the North, and he's going there without her, so that was kind of heartbreaking to see, but it was kind of cool to see him commit to that plan, and he's going there for them, so that was That was nice. And of course, you know, Sam presents the new book, which was written about the history of Westeros following Robert Baratheon's death. So pretty much everything that happened in the series was written into the book. And the book was appropriately called A Song of Ice and Fire, which I thought was just a great little touch. Obviously, the series is called that. You know, the Game of Thrones isn't the name of the series. It's A Song of Ice and Fire. And to kind of have a tribute to that by naming a book of the history of what's happened in the series after that, I thought was a great little touch. So I definitely thought that was a good, it was good. It's a good little tribute to it. And then at the end, we do have a compilation of the Starks. You see Jon preparing to join back to the Night's Watch. You have Sansa preparing to take her spot as Queen of in the North. Yes, Sansa Stark, since the very beginning, since the very first episode, all she wanted to do was become Queen, and now she's the Queen in the North. So I thought Sansa had a great ending. Arya, of course, is exploring the new world, which is the west of Westeros, because back in season 6, when she was talking to Lady Crane, you remember, she's like, you know, what's west of Westeros? And that's exactly what Arya is going to explore. And of course, when Jon arrives at Castle Black, he is pretty much greeted by Tormund and the Free Folk. And, you know, Jon, I think, quickly realizes what this means. And they go beyond the wall. And then, you know, Jon and Tormund and Ghost. And by the way, biggest part of the episode, Jon petted Ghost. Really glad about that. And you know, they're taking off, you know, beyond the wall, and then Jon, you know, sees the gate close behind him. He's kind of like, wait a minute, because I think Jon thought he was just leading them out and coming back, and he sees the gate close, and then Jon kind of like realizes, you know, what that means, and he takes off into the forest with Tormund and the Free Folk, and alluding back to season 1. You know, the whole thing started back in the forest beyond the wall, and that's where the series is ending, with, you know, them going into the forest beyond the wall, and that's how the series ends. And I thought it was a great ending, because with Jon Snow, all he wanted was just to live in peace. All he wanted to do was just, you know, be surrounded by people he loved and just live his life normally. He hated politics, he hated war, he hated all that, and but now, you know, he's free. You know, he's beyond the wall. He's with the people that respect and love him, and he doesn't have to deal with the politics. He doesn't got to deal with any war. He's living peacefully now, and I thought that was a great, perfect ending for Jon Snow. And you know, the reason why they send him to Castle Black, they send him there knowing that there's no Castle Black anymore. There's no Night's Watch. So them sending him there was just to pretty much please the people that wanted him dead. You know, like Grey Worm the Unsullied. They're like, oh yeah, we sent him to Castle Black and the Night's Watch. He's gonna serve out the rest of his days, blah blah blah. Because, you know, Grey Worm and them don't fucking know that the Night's Watch is not existent anymore. So that was pretty much a cover up, and to, you know, to free Jon, you know, say, hey, just go beyond the wall and just do what you want in the North, and just, you know, just be yourself. And that's exactly what Jon did. And it was a great ending for the Starks. Like I said, you have Bran, who's now the king of the Six Kingdoms. You have Sansa, who is the queen in the North. Arya, who people are saying will be the queen of the New World, because of course she's exploring it. And then they have Jon Snow, who's now king beyond the wall, pretty much. So I thought it was a pleasing ending. I really enjoyed it. I really loved the stories that were just told, and just the way they were ended. I thought they ended on a really good note, and I thought it was definitely a positive one, and I absolutely have no complaints about it. I thought it was a great ending, and I thought it was a phenomenal way to end the series. Obviously, like I said, I had an ideal ending. It was Jon and Daenerys ruling, but the way it played out, I don't mind it. I thought it was great for what it was, and I'm just very, very sad to see it end. I really don't want it to go still, but like I said, all great things must come to an end, and I thought, you know, this season overall was still great. I know a lot of people thought it was disappointing. I watched all of the episodes back. I watched the first 5 episodes back before the series finale, and watching those without seeing the instant negativity from people, I enjoyed it a lot more. And I thought the series finale was a great way to tie up a lot of loose ends. Could have done things better? Yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and act like it was perfect. They could have definitely done things better. They could have explained things differently. But for what it was, I thought, you know, they ended things on a good note. You had a good positive way of ending things. You know, Bran obviously wasn't an ideal person to sit on the Iron Throne, but it was what it was. And, you know, they fulfilled what Daenerys want. You know, when Drogon melted the Iron Throne, he was breaking the wheel, and that's the thing. You know, he did break the wheel. You know, Daenerys didn't want people being born into, you know, the throne. She wanted rightful rulers, and now that they get to select the rulers, you know, they broke the wheel, and they pretty much did exactly what Daenerys wanted to do. And you know, I thought that was kind of a good tribute to her by, you know, allowing them to pick the leaders rather than being born into it now, because like I said, that was one of the big things Daenerys wanted, was, you know, for people to choose their leaders, not have to deal with people that are born into it. So I thought that was a great thing. You know, what Drogon's doing right now is beyond me. The dude's just flying around Daenerys' body for all I know. What if he just had fucking just like dropped her in the ocean? That would have been hilarious. But I don't know. I just I'm kind of like I feel like I have more feelings, but I just can't find them. You know, I can't feel the right words to say them. But all in all, like I said, personally, I was satisfied with it. Was it ideal? Like I said, no, but I was satisfied with how it ended. I thought it was a good ending for majority of the characters. Tyrion didn't die. That's all I cared about. You know, he's handed the king. The Starks had a happy ending because, like I said, you know, the entire series has been about the Starks. So to see them get a happy ending was all I really wanted to see. You know, Bran got closure with Jaime by, you know, right, and they died for his queen. Pod's a knight. Bronn got his fucking castle finally. You know, anyone that remained pretty much got a satisfying ending. I don't know anyone that, I mean, maybe Grey Worm, because he's all pissed off that he lost everyone, that he's going to North. But besides that, I think majority of the characters, you know, got a good ending. You know, even Sam became a maester. That's all he wanted to do. He finally became one. And I just feel like it was an overall satisfying ending for the series. And I know it's getting a lot of mixed reviews. You know, obviously you have people that hated it, loved it, we're okay with it. But, you know, like I said, me personally, I thought it was a satisfying ending. You know, we can't change anything. You can have millions and millions and millions of signatures on your little petition to redo season 8, but at the end of the day, it's not gonna happen. You just got to deal with what we're given. And yeah, that's pretty much where I'm going with. You know, we can't change anything, so you might as well enjoy it. Now, I'm not saying you have to like it, but you know, you kind of just try and enjoy it and deal with it. That's really what I'm trying to say. But yeah, it sucks Game of Thrones is over, but obviously we're getting prequels, maybe we're getting spin-offs, because that's another thing about the series finale. Not saying they're going to do it, but the series finale left it open, so like if they want to do like a spin-off for a character, or you know, maybe do another season down the road for whatever reason, like you know they've done it with shows where they've taken a break and like we'll do another season just to do another one, you know, just like a tribute season or whatever, just to see what the characters are up to these days. They definitely left it open to where they can do more with that story. But the way it ended, like I said, it was a happy note. It gave characters closure, and that's all I can ask for. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did, please feel free to leave a like below. If you guys would like in the comment section, leave your guys' thoughts on the series finale of Game of Thrones and just season 8 in general. Like I said, I know it's a very controversial season. A lot of people didn't like it. A lot of people did like it. I enjoyed it for what it was. Like I said, I can't change anything, so I might as well try and enjoy it. It definitely was rushed. That's my main thing about season 8, I will say. I know a lot of people are complaining about the writing, but I feel like they could have done the exact same story still, but I feel like they just needed more time to develop them. This season definitely should have been 2 full seasons, and I'm not saying 2 full 6-episode seasons. The stories that were told this season definitely should have took place over 2 10-episode seasons, if you ask me. They definitely needed more time to breathe. Like, it was just kind of ridiculous how they went from the Battle of Winterfell immediately to King's Landing. You know, there wasn't any time to breathe between stories. I think that was a big problem with a lot of people, including myself. Like, even with the series finale, like, I didn't like, you know, Jon killing Daenerys, and all of a sudden they went for weeks later, like, oh yeah, we imprisoned Jon for killing Daenerys. Like, I would have liked to have seen the aftermath of, like, people's reaction to Jon killing Daenerys, not just immediately going weeks later, everyone already knew what happened, and trying to decide what happened now. I would love to have seen it played out and see everyone's reaction to it. And that was another thing, too, that in episode 4, where they went to reveal, you know, Jon's real name and who he is to Sansa and Arya, and they cut it off. And that's another thing I want to cover real quick for in the video is Jon. You know, people are saying, what was the point of revealing him as Aegon Targaryen if it didn't go anywhere? Listen, he was revealed as Aegon Targaryen because if they didn't do that, people would have bitched, well, who's Jon Snow's mother? What's Jon Snow's real name? People would have bitched about it. And when Jon killed Daenerys, they all figured that, you know, the only people that knew at that point were Tyrion, you know, the Starks, Jon, and I think that was it. I think that was the only people that, and Sam, obviously. Those were the only people that knew about Jon, and they all decided to keep it a secret still. They had no reason to reveal that Jon was Targaryen, and they kept that promise, you know, to not tell anyone. So they kept it to themselves. I think for the benefit of Jon, you know, what good would have been to say, oh yeah, Jon's the rightful heir of the Iron Throne. He doesn't want it anyways. So I feel like them deciding to keep it a secret was better off than them deciding to tell everyone. So it wasn't wasting it. It wasn't being pointless to reveal, you know, who Jon is. It just, he didn't want that life, and he didn't want that name. So they all decided for, you know, the best benefit him to keep it a secret, and that's exactly what they did, and that's why I didn't complain about them not going anywhere with it. Obviously, I wanted Jon Snow in the Iron Throne, but like I said, the way he ended was a perfect, satisfying ending for Jon. He got the closure. He got, you know, obviously he lost the love of his life, but you know what? He's finding peace and happiness with his new life, so I don't think he can really complain. And he can always find someone else, you know. He can find a wildling or whoever. He can always come across someone else to potentially have a family with and be in love with. But yeah, Game of Thrones, like I said, very, very sad to see it go, but there's definitely more to come in the future with prequels and possible spin-offs, so I'm very excited for the future still. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like I said, if you guys did, please feel free to leave a like below, and of course, the next time, I'll see you guys later. Thank you, Game of Thrones. I love you, and I'll miss you.